Okay, good morning and welcome to Ag Talking Raw, where I need to shave and I talk about agriculture and other things that I want to. I even forgot my own opening line. No, it is a bit early this morning. Not really. It's about 5:45. I wouldn't say it's early, but it's early enough. Let me get myself positioned in my chair. So yesterday I made this video. It's called "This Is Not Good," and it was before they voted to move the articles of impeachment onto the full House for review and a vote. Now, I'm older than people think I am, I guess. I do remember the Clinton impeachment. I do not remember the Nixon impeachment because I was only 2 years old when that happened. But for years and years afterwards, even when I was a kid, there were presidents that people would have liked to have impeached. I remember when Gerald Ford was president, believe it or not, before Richard Nixon. Okay, so when you're like 4 or 5 years old, so he was impeached in 1974. Then, or not impeached, wasn't impeached. The impeachment proceedings proved, well, when he went to court, they denied him what he was requesting because he was guilty. He knew he was guilty. And then he decided he would resign. But I remember when Jimmy Carter won the election and, the whole UFO thing, there was a lot of television shows that spurred from that as well. Yes, I have an incredible memory of my life. I can reach back in my files and pull shit up that, if I see something, even just on the farm, I can pull memories from when I was very young. But anyway, it was still talk of the town, per se, when I was a kid about the Nixon, Tricky Dick and all those guys. So we actually still have God, what the heck was the name? There was a bumper sticker who was running against Carter. But I remember my dad buying this bumper sticker because I don't believe he didn't vote for Carter. But it's an orange bumper sticker, and we were at a flea market down outside of Lambertville with my aunt and uncle, Aunt Peggy and Uncle Jim, and they have two girls, my cousins, Sarah Jane and Dottie Ann, Dorothy Ann. And I have very vivid memories of this stuff. And this was before this was when, Jimmy Carter was up for election. So I do remember the Clinton impeachment, and I do remember it being a bipartisan. If you don't know what that means, if you're young and don't understand it, bipartisan means that, each party comes together, not all of them, but at least several members from each party come together in agreement that there has been a act of treason, or, well, treason would mean 20, they would go before a firing squad, which doesn't happen anymore. But, high crimes and misdemeanors, treason, high crimes, misdemeanors, bribery, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. So I do remember this, and I remember the trials. I remember, very well, even though Timothy was small, he's about 4 years old. I was actually at a wedding. My cousin, I'm terrible with names, but Renee got married while they were doing the vote in the Senate for removal of President Clinton, William Jefferson Clinton. And it was bipartisan to a point. They did not get the 2/3 majority, obviously, or Bill Clinton would have been removed. They knew that it would be close, but they didn't vote on party lines. It wasn't like what we witnessed yesterday. Now, I'm reading these comments and on this video that I did yesterday, and there are people that are really, really, really good. There's really good people that watch my channel, and there's really some not so good people that watch my channel, but there's some really good comments by people, and I'm going to read this one comment by Jim Dandy. Jim Dandy is what I feel is going to happen during this impeachment vote, because you do have to understand right from wrong. No matter what your political view is, there's right and there's wrong. You can stand with your fellow party members and say, this is right, we need to impeach him, and in the back of your mind, nah, I can't do this. There's a lot of pressure that is put on these people in the parties. You've got some very... See, I'm a no bullshit. I don't take bullshit. So, Nancy Pelosi, if she was to come up to me and say, you're going to vote for this impeachment, you're going to vote for this impeachment, or I'm going to see to it that you're thrown out of this chair that you hold, that kind of thing. That's what goes on. There's a lot of pressure that is put on these politicians to do what the party leaders say. And, when they say, and I listened to Nancy say, we're not going to let the whip dictate to us. We're not going to let the whip do this. Okay, so I'm not really 100% sure what whip is, but I know what it does. So when you got the upper leaders, the seasoned politicians, or senators and congressmen and women, senator men and women, congressmen and women, they are kind of in a league of their own. So then you got the AOCs, the freshmen, the beginners, the first year guys and gals that are down here. They don't talk to Nancy. I mean, they can, but it's inappropriate. So they have to go to the whip leader. So why they call it a whip, I have no idea. So the proper chain of command is, here's Nancy, or the leader, the Speaker of the House, or the minority leader, and somewhere's down at the bottom of the majority leaders or the minority leaders, the top 10, let's just use 10 as a number. At the bottom of the top 10, that's where your whip leader is, and all the people that are below have to go through the whip to get to the top, and they're supposed to control what's going on there. So I don't know why, but the top isn't listening to the whip, and the whip isn't able to do anything with these guys down here, because they're wanting to peck away at the top in the Democrat Party. That is, anyway. I mean, that's what I see, and I think that there's a lot of pressure from the freshmen that are in office now on this old lady. She's 78 years old or 79 years old. Her teeth are falling out. For the most part, when she's soused, and I'm telling you, if she's not a drunk, I don't know what. I've seen drunk people. I lived with one for a long time. When one eye is closed, it's either a hangover or she's just gotten wasted, and her teeth are coming out, and one eye, and this is how this is gonna go. It's just whatever. So Jim Dandy, it says, I'm going to read it. It says, I'm a retired union construction worker, voted the Democrat ticket my entire life. I don't understand myself with this Democrat Party. Right is right and wrong is wrong. His point is perfect. You could say it's perfect. His point is perfect. Right is right and wrong is wrong. That is true. The Democrats are wrong. President Trump has exposed our politicians for what they are, and he's jeopardizing their gravy train and pay-to-play schemes. Now, I used to be an independent, and I think I've said this many times, I had to register my party in order to vote in a primary. I used to just vote in general elections, but I wanted to vote in a primary because in my local town, there was a Democrat here that was... our taxes would have doubled. And right now, my tax bill on the two houses, not the farm, just the two houses, is over $12,000 a year. This house is $6,700 or $6,800, and the other house is the remainder. $5,000 and change. It's ridiculous, and that jumped up about $600. this year. It's crazy. I mean, I don't even get it. And I don't know what I'm going to have. Timothy's actually going to move into the other house. So, anyway, when Donald was running against these other politicians, Jeb Bush, and I guess it was Jeb Bush and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, which in their rights are career politicians. That's what they were born and bred to do, and that's what they do. And you could see the disdain in their actions when they were running against this guy who's a businessman who is very, very charismatic. I mean, you can't tell me that Donald Trump isn't a charismatic guy that can manage to get people behind him to support him. He's done an excellent job. He is really old school, I would say, old school in his thought process. When there's a bully on the lot, you go up and you confront the little bully, and you make fun of the bully. Okay, and that really probably isn't the best approach for a politician to do, but it sparks a little bit of hope in people that have done this or have been bullied, and we've all been bullied by our politicians. We really have. As farmers, I remember when sod busting became like a curse word, and that was under the first George Bush. We cannot, and then we ended up with all this wetlands and all that crap that we were dealing with, and that was under a Republican president. It was started under Reagan, and it carried through into Bush, and I believe Clinton was the one that really put the nail in the coffin with it. And it was just all this environmental crap. So if there's standing water and they see it from a satellite, we couldn't even go through it. It's ridiculous. They've tamed it down a lot since then. But not all. Not all. Anyway, so if you remember during the election, the primaries, when Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush, they were really, really not a fan of Donald, the president, the now president. But the only one that hasn't actually gotten behind him, I believe, is Jeb Bush. And I don't know what Jeb is doing nowadays. Is he holding a public office anymore? I mean, I don't even know. But they really disliked him. But when he came in, and he started, this drain the swamp thing. If you remember, Donald Trump didn't want to say it. He said it once, and that was it. It was going to be done. He even said this in one of his rallies. He's like, I really didn't like the drain the swamp thing. He said, but we've got a swamp monster down there, and we really do need to drain the swamp. And I love that term. It really, it is a swamp. And, I mean, we're not talking about the president of the United States being leader of the swamp. I mean, they have been the leader of the swamp for many decades. But the president has only got a term for so long. And in the last, I don't know how many presidents we've had. I think every president I know has been a career politician up until this guy. I mean, Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. Yeah, he was an actor before that, but he was the governor of California. A great guy. I thought Ronald Reagan was a good president. Did he fuck up some things? Yeah, of course he did. George Bush, the first George Bush, career politician, deep stater. I mean, this guy was head of the intelligence agency back in the 70s. He has been in our government for a long, long time. So he knows some of the swamp monsters. Bill Clinton, Arkansas, governor of Arkansas. Again, he knows swamp monsters. He knows who is doing what to a degree, and he knows that people come to him and say, hey, listen, you can't touch this guy, or you can't do that, or you can't do this as president. Same thing with Jimmy Carter. I mean, again, peanut farmer from Georgia. He was a politician before he was a president. The only one that I know of that's never held a public office until the presidency is Donald J. Trump. So you take this guy who knows really nobody in the swamp, says he's going to drain the swamp. Then all of a sudden he says, I'm not going to, that's just a terrible thing. Someone talked to him. This is my conspiracy theory here. Somebody talked to him and said, "Hey, listen, you better lay off the swamp monster thing because that's not going to fly." Well, knowing how he is, he said, "I didn't like the term swamp monster." But in the back of his mind, he's like, "Who the hell does this guy think? Who the hell do these people think they're talking to? I'm going to do and say what I want to do and say because I'm Donald J. Trump. And now I'm president, and I'm going to drain this swamp." So he starts picking away at some of the swamp monsters. And there were several swamp monsters that he was really digging into. DEP, big one. Intelligence agencies, FBI, the FBI. There's still just a lot of things. And he's picking away at these swamp monsters. Well, all the swamp monsters, whether they're Democrats and Republicans, I don't know. But the Republican Party started to gain popularity, a lot of popularity among independents and even some moderate Democrats, because you can't have a group of freshman senators come in. It's been just about a year ago. Well, the election was a year ago. They come in, and the next thing, it's socialism. 100% socialism, man. We're gonna give you free health care, and the top 1% is gonna pay for it. Well, in order to do that, you have to tax these people 100%. You can't pay for health care like that. It doesn't work that way. And just talk to the Canadians. The Canadians do not have a free ride. It's not like, yay, I got free health care. They pay some of the highest taxes in the world because of it. Not property taxes, but sales tax and other VAT and all that other crap that they got to deal with to pay for their health care. And it's a tier system. As you get older, your health care diminishes. Yeah, at least that's what I was told by a couple of people. And the waiting lines are, you might as well come to the United States and get in here because the waiting line's there. Now for broken legs and bloody noses and shit like that, yeah, they'll take care of you okay. But, nah. Not for us. Free education. Why is a free education so important to these people? If you gave everybody a free education, you'd have all the people that aren't serious about going to college to get that education in college, wasting time for free. I mean, are they going to pay for their tuition and food, room and board too? Because we'd have career students, just like Bernie Sanders. I mean, he didn't graduate from school until he was like 30. Yeah, from college until he was like 30 or 32 years old. It was some ridiculous thing. And then he didn't do anything in the private sector. He became a politician. And he's been there ever since. And as far as I know, Bernie Sanders has never gotten a bill passed. Not one. He's drafted many, but he's never gotten them through the House. Never. So, yeah, senators. He never got them across the floor. They just never voted him in. They just never went on beyond his penmanship. That's it. So, and now he wants to be the president because he's the best choice to grow our economy. Well, I don't think there's a better choice to grow our economy than Donald J. Trump at this point. Really, I mean, job growth, household income. You do the math on the household income. He likes to inflate that a little bit, but the ones who have suffered the most under Donald Trump is actually the farmer. Not by design, I don't think it was by design. It was by chance that we suffered. But I see good things coming down the pike. So I was watching yesterday, and China wants to make a deal, and it's a $50 billion deal. And what was the first thing? And you cannot deny this if you're watching this. You cannot deny this. When was the last time you heard a president say agriculture so many times in his presidency? They're selling agricultural products. Obama, I don't think I ever heard him. I like farmers. That's about all he ever said. He didn't do anything really for us. Yeah, we had high pricing. We did. We had high pricing, but at the expense of everybody else. And I think with the USMCA, agricultural goods will be going to Canada and to Mexico. It's a reciprocal agreement, so things that go up, stuff will come down. They are our number one and number two trader, Mexico and Canada. So that's a good thing for the North American continent. Yes, North America. Mexico is part of North America, if you didn't know that. I think that'd be great. And China is our third largest trade partner. So it's always good to get on board with China. And guess what? Boris Johnson just got elected to Prime Minister of England, or the United Kingdom. So Boris Johnson, who is a conservative, who is now pushing to leave the EU, and when you're part of that European Union, there's things that you have to do within that European Union that he is no longer going to have to do, which will boost trade between the United Kingdom and the United States, because Donald Trump is just waiting. It's a waiting game. It's been a waiting game since 2016. They voted for Brexit, and we're waiting, and now finally they got a prime minister who is going to get it done. They will be leaving the European Union, and they will be open for business. And guess who's going to be trading with them? Yes, the United States. I don't know how much agricultural products the European Union or the UK needs, because there's a lot of agriculture over there. Really beautiful country. If you've never been to England and you want to go, skip London. Go tour Lancashire, just Lancashire. I like Lancashire. I thought that was nice. Herefordshire was beautiful. Go down to Wales. It's gorgeous ground. I mean, it's beautiful. I really enjoyed my trip to England, and I'm planning another one. I'd love to just go meet up with George and Kurt and Dino and John. I guess I don't know. Somebody told me that John has lost his business. I don't know. I haven't spoken with him. I should probably get on the horn and see if that's true, or at least talk to George. George would know. But I would just love to go and see this, and I have in my mind where I want to be when I go over there. But it's beautiful. And of course it has to be in the wintertime, which is crappy because it's cold there. But I want to go to Lama, and I don't know. I mean, timing for me right now is just a pain in the ass. I've got my baler has to go out Monday or Tuesday. I got to get that out to Messick's because that has to be worked on. I just can't. There's so much stuff that's wrong with that thing. It needs to be rebuilt, that new one, and they're going to do the work, and I'll just pay the bill. A lot of warranty stuff that needs to be done to it. So anyways, let me get back to this thing. I'm getting off track. Jeopardizing integration and pay-to-play schemes. That's why they hate him so much, and they will do anything to try and get back to the way things used to work. If President Donald J. Trump wouldn't have won the 2016 presidential election, we wouldn't have known the extent of the corrupt organized crime syndicate from the intelligence community or by our judicial branch and Congress, to name a few. There are still a considerable amount of people who don't have our president's best interest in mind. This is true. So, when Donald Trump came into office, there was 182 open seats for judges to be appointed to. That was his job. Whether, I don't know what court it was, the lower courts. It wasn't the Supreme Court. There was one Supreme Court justice that, and I'm thinking to myself, so why in the hell wouldn't Obama want to put these judges in place? Why not? Why didn't he appoint these? He was busy playing golf. I mean, people complain about Donald Trump playing golf. In the 8 years that Obama was in office, he took 360 some days, a full year of his presidency, swinging a golf club in 8 years. So, which is fine. He could have played golf for 720. I don't care. That'd have been great. But, he didn't do his job, is what it boils down to. And yesterday, for the first time, I actually watch a little bit of CNN because I got to see the madness. I watch a lot of OAN, I watch some Fox, and I watch some CNN, MSNBC, because I got to see what the other side is, and it is liberal left. MSNBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, they're all liberal left news media, and if you listen to that crap, the president should be drawn, quartered, and hung at the four corners of the United States, each piece. It's crazy. But, yeah. It's absolutely nuts. So I'm wondering why Obama didn't do that. Well, he never expected, just like everybody else in the left did not expect Donald Trump to win the presidency. And Hillary Clinton would have had carte blanche on picking 182 lower court seats plus 2 Supreme Court seats, and then this thing would have went on for the next 40 years. It would have went on for the next 40 years. They would have dismantled our country. They'd have turned us into God knows what. I'd be thinking about going somewhere else, to be honest with you, because the freedoms that I enjoyed as a young man are not here like they were. And I blame a lot of that on Bush and 9/11. Not to mention simple rules and stuff like helmet laws, cell phone laws, and shit like that. People need to take responsibility for their actions. So if I'm going down the road and I got my telephone to my ear and I crash and I hurt someone, I'm responsible. Not the phone. I'm responsible. And you need to take responsibility for that. What your insurance doesn't pay to that family to help that person that you damn near killed or hurt really bad, you get to work for the rest of your stinking life. Well, here's one that'll work really good. So you get to retirement age and you've hurt somebody really, really bad. You get to retirement age, your Social Security check goes to that person. You ain't going to talk on the phone anymore. You won't. If you hurt somebody. But should they stop us from talking on the phone while we drive our car? No. That's not freedom. Seatbelt. Seatbelt's in a car. Whose business is it, other than my own, if I want to or don't want to put a seatbelt on? Do I hurt anybody but myself and my family by my decision? No. My body isn't going to magically fly out of the car and go kill 10 people because I don't have a seatbelt on. It's not. So why are they making these rules and these laws to make us put a seatbelt on? It's revenue. They're just revenuers anymore. The state police, and that's all they're looking for is revenue. So they can hire more cops and create more laws to bind us to our jobs. We work harder than anybody else in the world, and we have less time off than anybody else in the world. It's tough. But anyway, I don't know. This ag talk has kind of gotten off the rails a little bit, but I agree with Jim Dandy is what I'm saying, and I'm glad that at least one Democrat has woke up a little bit to see the path that they are taking this country down is not good at all. And I'm not saying that Republicans are perfect. They're not by any means. Donald Trump passed a pipeline to go down through the center of the country to pump gas and oil from Canada down to the refineries down through there, which took away land that was given to the Native Americans back 160 years ago or more, 160 years ago. And, that wasn't right. It wasn't right at all. They could have put it on a rail line that already existed. But, when you push a group of people into an area that is worthless land, which is what they did. Those Native Americans, they didn't live in the desert. They lived in lush green areas like Hunterdon County or, Philadelphia County. They lived in areas like that. And then as European settlers came in, they just took their ground, and the Native Americans moved out west, and they were there for about 100 years or 200 years out there, along with other Indians, if you call them Indians or Native Americans. And then when they realized that it was fertile soil and they needed to farm it, then they pushed them into the deserts. I've been through Wyoming and up in there, and it's not to say that there weren't Plains Indian tribes out there, but they lumped them all together, put them in so-called the worthless ground. But now they found out that there's gas and oil under it, so let's go take it from the Native Americans. And when you enter those parts of our country, they do fall under different rules. Those, what do you call them, Indian reservations? I've been through a couple of Indian reservations. There's different rules there. I mean, they're still Americans, and they still get to vote and stuff. And I honestly think that Donald Trump should go knock on their door. I saw one here last night about who Donald Trump is going for now as far as a potential voting bloc, and they do this. I mean, he's not a dumb man. He's not dumb at all. Everybody thinks he's an idiot, but he's not dumb at all. Evangelical people, the Christian community. Last night, I'm watching this pastor. He is on Fox News, and he's like, "Yep, we have the Evangelical Project," is what they're calling this. There are 30 million evangelical Christians in this country. 30 million, which is a third of the people that voted to get Donald Trump into office. If you can capture the evangelicals, even just half of them, it's 15 million more votes from the evangelicals. It's a landslide victory. Even if you got a quarter of them, a tenth of them, it's huge. So by being pro-religion, which we haven't had that in a while, I'm not the most religious person on the planet. Trust me, I'm not. But I think there's core values that are taught in churches and for people to live their lives. And I went to a Christian school. I know those core values. Sometimes they're forgotten and they need to be reassured by going to church. But you learn how to be a good person in church. And that's just the truth. It's part of the teachings of God and that stuff. And I'm not religious. Trust me. I'm going to hell and I'll be happy to be there. But that's all right by me. It's just the way you live and the way you treat other people. And it's just, the president is a big pusher. He supports Israel. I don't have a problem with Israel at all. I would love to go to Israel, to be quite honest with you. I would love to go see that country. I think it's neat. I mean, it's a new country. It was formed in the 1950s, but Israel was there, and it was taken away from them. I think the Egyptians took it away, right? I don't even know. I can't remember now, but the Egyptians had something to do with it. Moses in the desert for 40 some odd years, chasing the Red Sea, parting the Red Sea and shit like that. But anyway, yeah. So I think that Donald is going after these factions, like I call them a faction, that have been forgotten. You see, the Democrats, they want that black vote. There's a lot of black people in this country. And, a lot of good people in the black community. There's a lot of bad people in the black community as well. Same with the white community. There's probably just as many bad white people as there are bad black people in this country. Wow. I got Teresa's hair stuck in my face. There it is. Look at that thing. Can you see it? Maybe? My camera's not that good. Anyway, so the Dems, they go after the blacks and they go after women. Well, you know what? Women are not stupid. They're not stupid. A woman thinks of their pocketbook. They think of their children. Okay? When they are going to the polls. So Donald Trump is a family man. So he's kind of got that. Now, he can be vulgar at times. He's proved that. Grab her by the pussy. That sort of thing. He just said what dirty men think. I'd like to grab her by the pussy. And that happens. It does. it happens in our minds. And if you say that that's never crossed your mind, you're either gay, which is fine. You can grab him by the cock. I don't give a shit. Just don't grab my cock. So men have dirty minds. Women do too. Don't get me wrong. I've listened to this woman talk. Holy cow. But she's a piece of work too. I love her to death. But, oh my God. So, when Donald Trump has furthered our household income, that's a plus for women. And he's a family man, and it shows. His kids are always with him. Yes, he has been married a couple, 3 times. It's unfortunate that he's been married a couple, 3 times because that's a mark against him. I don't know how promiscuous he was. I don't know. I don't really care. I know Adam Schiff thought that he was so promiscuous that the Ukrainians claimed that they had video of him having sex with these prostitutes, which Adam Schiff bought hook, line, and sinker. Don't forget about that, Adam Schiff. Little Adam. He thought he had him on a sex scandal. Didn't happen. The only one that's been charged with a sex scandal was the last one to be impeached, Bill Clinton, and there was a dress with a presidential stain on it, as we should say. So, yeah. But, anyways, back to the subject at hand. I'm only going to do this for a few more minutes because I'm going to read a couple more. This guy, Steve Holstein, he was 14 when Nixon was impeached, so he remembers it probably pretty good. Kangaroo court, no shirt, Australian hat. Are you an undercover Australian? This is not an Australian hat. This is a fedora. It was a very popular hat until a very not so popular president didn't wear one until he was killed. He wasn't popular until he was killed. He was orchestrator of the Bay of Pigs. I'm talking about President John F. Kennedy. When John F. Kennedy didn't wear a fedora, everybody stopped wearing a fedora. That's what this is. And this is the Indiana Jones fedora hat. I like it. It's a light hat. I would buy more of these if they weren't so damned expensive and actually wear these. But this is a very light hat. I like it. It fits well. I could bring back the fedora. But not too many people would wear it anyway because it's just not in style. Wes, you're wrong. You're in the midst of a civil war. Probably less than 1,000 individuals are or have been actively engaged in the contravention of legal election because, as Nadler just publicly stated, we can't trust the American voter. We are a nation of laws. That is true. We are a nation of laws. Everything is done by law and precedent. But since Saint Franklin of Roosevelt established the throne, we've increasingly become a nation ruled by power. I've already covered that up until this point. The up until this president, and this is what they hate so much, up until this president, every president preceding this has been a politician. And that's really what they hate. All right, 2 Bushes and 1 Obama pretty much fundamentally changed America. I agree. The biggest change I saw from Obama was racism. Obama turned blacks against whites and Dems against Republicans. The political hatred has grown so much in the last 12 years, 14 years, 16 years. I'll go 16 years. Nah, it's 12 years. Let's say 12 years. When Obama started running for president and his wife with that big fat mouth of hers started running off, about white people and that stuff. We've got Oprah Winfrey. She was another one that hates white people. White people need to just die. Yeah? Come on, Betty. Let's go. Take your goddamn glaucoma eyeballs and get the hell out of Dodge. So, Two were instrumental in creating a surveillance state where, yeah, it's true, and they surveilled us. There was, that Fast and Furious thing. I remember a little bit about it, but I think I was pretty much dealing with some other crap in my life that I didn't pay too much attention to. Thanks for your Midwest, and thanks for sharing our family stories. I can sympathize. Believe me, lots of snark floating around Facebook regarding me and mine for years. Ooh, Jeff Hooser. I don't know anything about. Oh, I like snark. Gossip, I guess that would be. Hate him because they can't control him. I've already covered that as well. Obama did kick 3 million immigrants out of the U.S. Right, and it was okay by the left then because it was a lefty doing it. He did lock children into cages. It was his policy to lock children into cages. His wars in the Middle East killed around 2 million in total. Correct. But I watched a thing there saying, I read an article that said that Donald Trump has started 5 wars. I don't know what 5 wars he started. I know that he's ended a couple. He loved to bomb hospitals, killing innocent doctors and nurses. Obama is a war criminal. Well, when you're controlled by the men and women who own the equipment to make the machines of war, that's what you have to do. You see, John McCain owned a business that made machines, that built machines for war, weapons for war. You can't directly own the machine that builds machines for war, but you own the machine that builds the machines that build the weapons of war. And you can do that. And that's why John McCain died a very wealthy man. So when you are a politician, you can mold the policy to fit your checkbook. And that's why people like Obama go into the presidency with a wealth of about $300,000. What it was, about $300,000 is what he was worth. He just bought an $11.6 million home on Martha's Vineyard. That if global warming does what it's supposed to, it'll be washed off the island in a matter of 6 years. Ridiculous. But hey, that's what these people are trying to take our money on next, is the environment. They should have known that volcano down in New Zealand was going to erupt and put a gigantic reclaimer on the top of it, because that just spewed more shit than 5 years worth of automobiles and human emission that came out of it. Not farting cows either. Not farting cows, not farting people, but a volcano. So what do you do when a natural thing like that happens and spews 5 years worth of CO2 and carbon and all this, carbon dioxide, CO2, and dust and dirt and shit into the atmosphere? So do you think that and there's no less than 20 volcanoes erupting right now at this moment. They're just burning up into the atmosphere, spewing CO2. It's a natural phenomenon. When things calm down, then the CO2 drops out of the atmosphere. It gets locked into soil. And as we become more and more mindful as to the farming practices that lock CO2 into the soil, i.e. no-till, and that's where the carbon credit actually started, was in no-till farming back in the late 80s, early 90s. They wanted us to carbon storage by not plowing. So when you plow a piece of ground and you see that haze, like in the morning or the evening after you've plowed a ground, that mist that comes off of it, that's CO2 release. That is CO2 release, believe it or not. So, hey, you know what? I'm just a dumb farmer. I don't know much. But, I know that this climate change thing, the thing that does need to stop and should stop is ocean dumping, river dumping, dumping. Can't dump these chemicals and stuff out into our atmosphere, other than carbon, because carbon comes from volcanoes at such an alarming rate. I mean, we had 10 years worth of CO2 emissions dumped in 3 days of an eruption in 1991. But nobody wants to talk about that stuff, or the underwater eruptions that are going on, or the one in Hawaii that's been bubbling up out of the ground for the last 10 years that is still dumping CO2 like you've got no clue out into the atmosphere. But politicians don't want to talk about that because they can't make money off of a volcano farting into the atmosphere. They can make it on equipment and cars, and then make cars burn cleaner by burning more fuel. Somebody's got their hand in Sunoco or Exxon, But anyway, whatever. I've been talking for 45 minutes. I think it's time to let her go, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.